Your moderator for today's webinar. I welcome all of you to today's webinar, organized by East African Business Council in collaboration with the East African Community and RSM Eastern Africa. Our topic for discussion today is on post-budget digest, looking at the partner state budgets for the fiscal year 2024-2025, focusing on disparities in the application of the common external tariff at East African community level and its impact on businesses in the region. We have an exciting agenda today and a lineup of distinguished speakers and panelists who will provide insights on this topic of discussion today. And before I begin, kindly my team please allow to present the ground rules for the webinar today. Yes, kindly, I do request everyone to mute your mic if you're not speaking, and also to share questions via the chat room that is available in this platform. Also, please, when asking questions, focus on the topic of discussion and also bring regional perspective. This meeting will also be recorded for reporting purposes, and the report will be shared to all registered participants in this webinar today. Kindly allow me to introduce the speakers and panelists today. We have our acting executive director, Mr. Adrian Jau, the acting executive director of East African Business Council. We also have Mr. Josephat Karanja, manager tax consulting RSM Eastern Africa, who will give us a presentation. We also have Mr. Donald Tindamanyire, principal custom officer, tariff and valuation from the East African Community Secretariat. Also, we have received apologies from our official from the East Africa Community Secretariat, the EAC Deputy Secretary General, Customs, Trade and Monetary Affairs, Ms. Annette Sese-Muwemba. So during this webinar today, will be officiated by the EABC Vice Chairperson and the Chairperson of the EABC Policy and Advocacy Committee, Mr. Simon Kaheru, who is also here with us today. So to kick off our webinar, allow me to invite Mr. Adrian Jau, the Acting Executive Director for the East African Business Council, to deliver his opening remarks. Welcome.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I thank you all for participating in this workshop. First and foremost, I would like to thank the EAC Secretariat through Director Secretary General, who has actually sent us an apology for not being able to participate, but for closely working with the EABC to come up with this workshop, our webinar, which we are trying to create awareness in terms of the application of the EAC Common External Tariff in terms of application, and where we are focusing, looking the disparity for 2024-25 budget year. I would also like to thank our Vice Chair and the Chair of Policy and the Advocacy Committee, Mr. Simon Kaheru, for accepting to be with us today in officiating and I think participating in this workshop. I thank all participants actually for deciding to prepare yourself and attending this webinar, which I think is very important. As you are all aware, we started implementing the EAC Common External Tariff 2022, effective from July 22. This new EAC Common External Tariff came into being after a long, or I can say marathon for the review, the previous CET, which was the three-band tariff structure, And finally, we came up with a 4-band tariff structure where we have 0 for raw material and capital goods. We have the second band, which is 10% for mainly inputs and intermediate products. We have a 25% for the finished product, which actually partner state think that they are not sufficiently available in the EAC region. And we have 35 tariff band, which cater for products which are finished, but they are not sufficient. They are sufficiently available in the region, or some of this finished product maybe their luxuries, and EAC partner state will lack to get some revenue from it. But also we have some list of the sensitive item, which is around 50 items, and they are very few because they just account maybe around less than 1% of the tariff lines in the EAC. And even when you look, for example, the 0 band, you find they account more than 37% of the all tariff line. Then the 10% is around 19%, and the 25 tariff lines, the 25 import duty is actually levied to around 28 tariff lines. And the 35, which is a new band, you find that they account around 12% of all the tariff lines. We had a lot of objective in terms of this new tariff structure, and one of the main objective actually was to enhance uniformly application of this tariff structure by all EAC partner states, especially the 5 partner states which are implementing it. So when we review it, one of the objectives was to make sure that we do away with stay of application and even country specific duty remission. But when we look at the application for 3 years, we think still there is a lot of stay of application and the country specific duty remission. And this is not making our CET uniform or common, because now every country looks like is implementing a lot of stay of application and a country specific duty remission. So without preempting the presentation which we are going to get from the EAC Secretariat and from the RISM, I think it is high time I invited my chair to come and officially open the workshop. Chair, karibu sana.
Nashukuru sana, Adrian. Thank you very much. The representative or plural of our chief guest was sent her apologies, Ms. Annette Mutawese Mwemba, the EAC Deputy Secretary General of Customs, Trade and Monetary Affairs. Even in spite of her absence, we know that she's committed to discussions of this nature and the process and the private sector. So we still welcome her. The chairperson of RSM Eastern Africa, EABC board directors and members present, other officials from the EAC Secretariat, distinguished CEOs and directors, the media fraternity, and all East Africans present today, karibu. This is another significant step in the growth of the private sector and EAC regional integration. It is an honor today to welcome you to this critical post-budget webinar on disparities in the application of the East African Community Common External Tariff and its impact on EAC businesses. I continually extend my gratitude to the EAC Deputy Secretary General for all the hard work she's done in ensuring that this discussion takes place officially here with this webinar, but also behind the scenes on a day-to-day basis. And we know that the incoming, the new Secretary General is also in full support of these discussions and the progress that we are making. So we her as well. All of you are here today. Thank you for making this a priority, because we all know that for the prosperity of East Africa to be realized, we need to focus on all the tools available to us that the partner states in their heads deemed necessary for this private sector of ours to grow. And players like RSM Eastern Africa, thank you for placing additional focus, bringing us together so that we can have these discussions. As Adrian has highlighted and kicked off the discussion very well, ladies and gentlemen, the Common External Tariff is an essential instrument of the East African Community Customs Protocol. Its aim is to facilitate trade and create a level playing field, okay, in our customs territory, by ensuring that we have a uniform tariff structure across the partner states. But again, he has highlighted very clearly, and we know from our day-to-day business operations, that there are too many stays of application and country-specific duty remissions that have made the effectiveness of a common external tariff, the commonality, dilute. And this is why we are here today, to find a way of decreasing that diluteness, increase the concentratedness, make it work. The country measures, we know, are intended to serve different national aspirations. But even as we've said in our ground rules today, we need to be regional in our thinking, in everything that we do, in order for this East African community integration to be real and to work for the people of this region. The differences between the different partner states distort the regional market and create an uneven playing field, which makes it difficult for us to do what we want as a community to do, especially the private sector within the community. And if anything, it is exactly the opposite of what the Common External Tariff was meant to achieve. Hence, in 2022, we held a review, and many of you present, I'm sure, were involved, of the CET. And that review was considered to be a very necessary, crucial step in reversing the position that we had arrived at as a East African community. We said, when we did that review, we said we were going to create a more cohesive and predictable tariff regime, which would boost local production, create fair competition, and then make us more capable as the private sector within the region to operate on the African stage under the African Free Continental Trade Area, or even the newly created tripartite area that we're going to be operating under, but even more importantly, on the global stage. Unfortunately, as soon as that review was concluded, the list of stays of application, country-specific duty remissions was again put in place, meaning that we had done no work. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that this is not how we need to operate. And that's why today, in this discussion, it is important for us to have very clear, frank, decisive deliberations that will advise the partner states on which direction to take, and that will also push our colleagues, our peers in the private sector, to do the right thing for regional growth. The EABC has done studies, consulted many of you, work that has been led by Adrian and team. Adrian, before he was even acting executive director, and Adrian, I'm happy to see you play an even bigger role now, because you've helped guide a lot of progress. After those consultations, we came up with 4 specific recommendations for the partner states. And my trust is that this morning you are going to discuss these 4 recommendations and even improve upon them so that we go back and get our partner states to adopt them. One is to ensure that the 2022 version of the CET is applied uniformly across all the partner states. 2, enhance transparency and reduce the complexity of the tax measures in each partner state so that at regional level there is trust and compliance is easier to be achieved. 3, continue creating awareness of the CET 2022 version amongst both public and private stakeholders in order for its objectives to be achieved, because right now, part of the consultations revealed that many players were even ignorant that this review had been conducted and were operating on wrong presumptions. And four, very importantly, promote dialogue between private and public sectors so that the different issues that keep emerging are addressed much, much faster. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, this webinar is extremely important. It gives us another crucial opportunity to get together, reflect on the common external tariff, especially the 2022 version, highlight the challenges that we face as players on both ends of this, not divide, but of this system, public and private sector, and then make these recommendations practical and achievable. As we open the webinar today, I look forward to fruitful discussions, actionable outcomes that all of us need to aim at wearing our private sector hats, because we all know that we're members of the private sector, even if some of us have identity cards that say public sector, and move the East African community to the next level so that it can take up the rightful place on this continent and in the global markets. So it is on this hopeful, optimistic note that I wish you pleasant and progressive deliberations that will champion private sector growth and regional integration. Pamoja tutashinda. Asante sana.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, for the well-deserved remarks, opening remarks. And I think the recommendation are actually taken care. So I think now it is time to invite Donald Tindamanyere from EAC Secretariat, who is the principal custom officer in charge of the tariffs and evaluation. So we can say even this EAC common external tariff, actually it is his baby. He has been with it for some times now, and I think we'll get a very good presentation from him. I think Gabriel, you can project the presentation from Donald.
Thank you, Adrian. And thank you, Vice Chair, and good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Donald.
Yes, we can hear you, Donald.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to present some few slides on the state of play of the EAC Common External Tariff version 2022. So the scope of my presentation, I'll start with a bit of background on EAC, then the general overview and the objective of the review of the EAC CET. Then I'll quickly take you through the criteria for classifying goods and assign them a rate above 25%. Then why partner states agreed on 35% at the maximum band. And then we'll look on the post-implementation of the revised EAC CET, which came into effect from July 2022. Then the challenges encountered by partner states while implementing the new version, and also the recommendations. Now, by way of introduction, I think as we are all aware, the community has now grown up following the admission of the Federal Republic of Somalia. So we have the three founding partner states, that Burundi, URT, Kenya, Uganda. Then the Rwanda and the Burundi joined, Then we also saw the admission of RSS, DRC, and just recently we had the Federal Republic of. Now, in terms of the integration pillars, in 2005, we started implementing the customs union, which was looking at ensuring partner states enjoy economy of scale, and they adopted single custom territory as a stepping stone towards the full realization of the fully fledged customs union. Then in 2010, we started implementing the common market, which was aiming at accelerating economic growth and development. And this came with the 5 freedoms and the 2 rights for the factors of production within the community. In 2013, the community signed the Monetary Union Protocol, which was laying the groundwork within the 10-year span, while allowing partner states to progressively converge. But I think we are all aware that the Council has extended the timelines to 2031. And the last pillar is on the political federation, which is ongoing. And in May 2017, our heads of state adopted the political confederation as the transitional model towards achieving the political federation. Now, when we come to the common external tariff, as highlighted by the AGED, this is the very important instrument under the Customs Union Protocol, and it is indeed Annex 1 to the protocol, which is derived from the World Customs Organization harmonized system. When we started implementing the current version, it has 21 sections and 99 chapters. We have 1,228 headings, and by July, we had 5,955 subheading tariff lines, which have so far of us, as of now, we have 5,958. We also have 77, chapter 77 is reserved for future use, while chapters 98 and 99 are reserved for special users. Now, when you come to the structure, as highlighted by Adrian, we have 0%, which accounts to almost 37.7% of the total tariff lines. And these are mainly raw materials and the capital goods. Then we have 10%, which are intermediate goods, which forms 19.60% of the all total tariff lines. Then we have 25%, which are finished goods, but not sufficiently available in the community, and this forms 28.57%. Then we also have 25%, and a specific duty rate of $200 per metric tons. We have 22 tariff lines, which are mainly iron and steel, which form 0.37%. Then we have 35%. Now, this is the newly introduced band as per the 2022 version. And on this particular tariff line, currently we have 767 tariff lines, which forms 12.87%. Then we have 35%, and there is specific duty rate of 40 cents. These are on one articles, and we have 3 tariff lines on this one. Then we have 50%, which is on maize, wheat, and woven fabrics. And on this category, we have 19 tariff lines. Then we have 60%, which is mainly dairy products. We have a total of 16 tariff lines. Then 75%, or a specific duty rate of 345, which is rice. We have 5 tariff lines. And lastly is 100 or US dollar 460, whichever is higher. We have 10 tariff lines, which comprises of sugar and sugar products. So in 2022, the council adopted the new structure, and this was effected in the EAC Gazette of June, that the council adopted a new structure of 4 tariff band, and they further directed that the new structure takes effect from 1st of July 2022. Now, as a way of bringing everyone on board, as highlighted by Adrian, the community decided to review the CET. Now, what were the objectives? First was to review and align the tariff structure and rates to the current economic realities, but also to progressively remove the stays of application, which have destabilized our common external tariff. But also was to review the sensitive rates and its applicable rates, taking into consideration a supply capacity within the community, but also to amend the Custom Management Act in order to cater for condition and criteria to be fulfilled by partner states requesting for a stay of application in order to address shortfall on identified products. But also, one of the objectives was to update the common external tariff to the revised version of the harmonized system. As we all know that the World Custom normally issues the revised version of the HS after every 5 years. So far we had the harmonized system 2017 and the 2022, which were released. And further to that was to address any inconsistencies contain the common external tariff, and one being where you have a raw material and finished product both attracting the same rates. Now, in the process of reviewing the common external tariff, partner states agreed that 25% duty, which was by then a maximum rate, was not adequate enough to provide enough protection. So they came up with the criteria of classifying goods, a rate above 25%. So one of the criteria was on the end products of priority value chains, and which was outlined in the regional industrialization policy. And on this one, partner states were looking at the sectors such as cotton, textile, iron, steel, edible oils, chemical, leather, and leather products. Then they also looked at the strategic goods, which were mainly looking at increasing revenue contribution, but also products where they provided employment, food security, rural development, security, foreign exchange, as well as welfare promotion. But they also agreed on availability of those products within the community, and this was defined by industry capacity to meet the regional or local demand. Now, in the process, or rather, while agreeing on this criteria, partner states agreed to use import and export data as the proxy because it was a bit difficult to establish the local or local capacities within the partner states. Now, since partner states agreed to move to a rate above 35%, then STIFI at its statistics meeting, agreed to form or adopt a CT structure with 4 bands, that is 0, 10, 25, and 35. And without forgetting that we have the list on sensitive items, which attract a rate above 35%. Now, what was the justification of the community agreeing on 4th band? First, this decision was made based on national and regional policies on industrialization, but also partner states looked at the changes in the regional economic structures where value chains and further processing of intermediate materials were beginning to take root. And they noted that when agreeing on the initial CET, there are quite a number of raw materials, intermediate products, which were assigned a lower rate because at that time, these materials were not available within the community. But in the course of implementation of the CET, partner states developed capacity on these materials. Then another justification was the frequent use of stays of application, where a 3-band structure was no longer applicable. But also, there was need to safeguard government revenue and also sustaining sectors where minimal importation was taking place, but also stakeholders' contribution to the process. And on this one, we want to commend EABC because you came with a common position as to what rate needed to be adopted by partner states. Now, having agreed on the 4th band, you recall that there were 2 positions that some of the partner states were in favor of 30% as the maximum CET rate, whereas the other partner states were in favor of 35%. Now, having considered the 2 positions, a decision was made to adopt 35% because after the simulation done on macroeconomic effect, it was seen that the 35% would in average increase revenue in all partner states by 5.5%. Then the 35% would increase intra-regional trade. Then there will be trade diversion in a state that partner states will no longer or will rather decrease in importation of goods. Then the 35% would promote value addition activities within the community, particularly on long value chain sectors. But also it's going to attract foreign direct investment and provide employment opportunities to East Africans. Now, coming to the post-implementation of the Common External Tariff and looking at the EAC Gazette, which was published on 30th of June, currently we have 1,956 tariff lines, which are enjoying stays of application across partner states. We also tried to do an analysis of the stays of application per partner states last financial year and this financial year, where for the Republic of Burundi in this financial year, they requested for 24 tariff lines, while last year, Republic of Burundi requested for 54. Republic of Kenya, in the current financial year, there are 816 tariff lines compared to 793 tariff lines, which were requested and granted approval last year. Then Republic of Rwanda this year has 116 tariff lines, while last year, Republic of Rwanda requested for 416 tariff lines. URT in the current financial year requested for 89 tariff lines, while last year the URT requested for 168 tariff lines. Republic of Uganda recorded the highest number of tariff line because this year Republic of Uganda was granted 901 tariff lines compared to last year where we had 864 tariff lines. So if you compare between the two financial years, in the current financial year, we have 1,956, while last year we 2,295 tariff lines. Yeah, sorry, Adrian, I've seen a comment that participants are not able to view the presentation.
No, we can't.
Okay. Thank you. So that was by way of comparison, where you can see that the Republic of Rwanda has really done efforts to reduce the tariff lines from 416 to 116. But the two partner states, that's Uganda and Kenya, I've recorded the highest number where Uganda has 901, while Republic of Kenya has 816. Now, when you look at stages of application by tariff band, you note that most of the products that partner states have requested for stages of application falls under 25% band and 35, and we have recorded a few requests under 10, 0, or sensitive tariff line. So out of the 1,956 tariff lines, 976 tariff lines were products classified under the two tariff band, that's the finished products of 25 and 35, while the other bands being of 0, 10, and the sensitive list accounts for 23% of the stays. Now, despite the fact that the stays are quite numerous, but I've also tried to look on the rates, whether partner states are applying to a state to use a lower rate or a higher rate. And for Burundi, 10 tariff lines. The request was to apply a higher rate than what the CET is providing, and the 24 is for lower rate. Republic of Kenya, 806. The request is to apply a higher rate. Republic of Rwanda, 10 tariff lines. Request is to apply a higher rate, while 106, that's for a lower rate. URT, 75 tariff lines. The stay is to apply a higher rate, while 14 is for a lower rate. And the Republic of Uganda, 831 tariff lines. The stays are to apply a higher rate, while 7 tariff lines, the request was to apply a lower rate. So what does this tell us is that much as the partner states are applying for a stay, but the implication is that for the product, since the request is to apply a higher rate, this indicates that we have sufficient supply, and that's why partner states are requesting for a protected rate on products where they have a comparative advantage. I've also tried to do categorization of stages of application by value chain sector, And we noted that the stays of application are mainly requested and applied on cotton, textile, and apparel, where you have 621 tariff lines. And this is followed by iron and steel, agro-processing, then automobile, 89 tariff line, and the lowest one is furniture, where you have only 13 tariff lines. So from this chart, it tells us that textile, iron, steel, and agro-processing are the three major value chains where partner states have requested for many stays of application in order to protect the said sectors. Now, let's go on the challenges. What are the implications of the stays applied by partner states? One is the persistent non-tariff barriers, which have negatively impacted intra-regional trade. Secondly, the stays have kept on destabilizing the common external tariff, and as highlighted by the vice chair, that at times you wonder whether EAC will still have common external tariff when you look at the Gazette issued on 30th of June, where you have almost 2,000 tariff lines granted stays of application and country-specific duty remission. Another challenge associated with the stays of application is the denial of preferential tariff market access of finished products, even when the products meet origin criteria or criterion. This has also impacted investment because now there is lack of predictability, especially to investors, because you may make projection on understanding that the duty rate for the product that you have invested in will be 35%. But in the next financial year, the policy changes where a decision is made of either assigning a lower rate or a higher rate. Then this has also had an impact in terms of smuggling activities, where a partner state applies a lower rate. Goods in that the finished items will definitely be cheaper compared to finished products in a partner state which applies a higher rate. So traders will be tempted to smuggle goods to partner states A with a lower rate to partner state B, which applies a higher rate. Then this also has brought unfair competition on finished goods at the market, but also we have seen now unilateral attraction of foreign direct investment, which is contrary to the objective of the customs union, which was to promote or attract FDIs as a community and not as individual partner states. Now, what needs to be done in order to address the changes? And this, I think, just complements what the vice chair earlier on recommended while making the opening remarks. First, I think the private sector needs to form a common position on the rate to be applied on products of economic importance. What has been observed is that the request of the states by different partner states are driven by the request of private sectors in their respective partner states. And we believe if a private sector can have a unified position, then, for example, on iron and steel, manufacturers agree that let's have ad valorem as well as a specific duty rate, then that let it be adopted by all partner states. Then we think there is need as the community to do an assessment of the impact of the revised common external tariff in terms of the FDI and the intra-regional investment. There is also need to do assessment of national and the regional productive capacities in order to inform the appropriate rate to be assigned on products where partner states have persistently requested for stays for application. Then there is need to address challenges leading to the constant application of stays of application. And here, I think special emphasis should be made on the three sectors where which recorded high number of stays of application. That's agro-processing, textile, and apparel sector. Then, of recent, we have observed that the partner states have been requesting to apply a mixed rate, that is ad valorem and specific duty rate, particularly on the apparel and the textile. And we feel that maybe as a community, we need to assess the rationale behind the increased movement towards application of ad valorem and the specific duty rate. Then we need to assess the levels of industrial and the value chain development within the community. And last but not least, I think as a community and private sector, there is need to promote regional value chain in order to do away with internal competition, because the current trend is that if, let's say in the Republic of Kenya, you have a manufacturer of tiles, then you'll see the same being implemented by the Republic of Uganda, URT, Rwanda, and Burundi. Yet we thought if you have one player in one partner state, then other partner states could be engaging more on the production maybe of raw materials in order to support the player in one partner state. The same applies in the Republic of Uganda, where there's a massive investment in the manufacturing of tires for the motorcycle. So we thought now that the region is looking at promoting value addition activities, especially on automobile sector, and to that effect, we have even developed the regulation on manufacturing and assembling of products. Then the emphasis now should be how are we promoting that one manufacturer or investor in order to avoid internal competition among the players within the community. So that brings to the end of my presentation, and thank you so much for your attention, and I welcome question to that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Donald, for the good presentation. Kindly do remain. We'll be getting questions shortly after getting the next presentation. So allow me now to welcome Josephat Karanja from RSM Eastern Africa to present also. Welcome, Josephat.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, and ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Donald, for that detailed introduction to today's topic. And I think I'll go straight onto it in terms of looking at the divergence in terms of the application of the CET. Just give me a moment. I think the presentation is still loading. Okay. And I think I'll not delve so much into the introduction of the CET, because Donald has covered that very comprehensively. But as we may be aware, is that the East African partner states, and this includes Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and DRC, began their fiscal year on 1st of July 2024, and aligning their budgets through the pre-budget consultations of the Finance Economic Planning Ministers. And these consultations aim at agreeing on tax measures related to the EAC common external tariff, such as import duties, duty rates, and the exemptions. But some of the states still continue to apply changes that distort the tariff harmonization that is intended by the common external tariff. This is inconsistent with the application of the common external tariff and creates market distortions, discourages regional economic integration and value chains, just like Donald has said, and also undermines the efficiency of the East African's community intra-regional market. So we've seen through the Gazette notice of 2024, which was released on 30th of June, and we are seeing a highlight of the specific changes that will affect the year 2024. And some of these changes range from the changes in the rates of the tariffs in terms of the external tariffs. We've seen stays application that has been granted and including country-specific remissions that have been granted through this. We've seen amendments in descriptions, in product descriptions also coming through this, the amendment of the structure, and also assignment of some goods as sensitive goods in some of the EAC countries. In a brief, the notice modifies the existing rates in terms of the applicable rates, duty rates. And we are seeing these will be applicable to, some will be applicable to all members, while some will be applicable to specific, especially where stay of application has been sought. And these adjustments will be aiming to streamline trade practices, potentially reducing the barriers that, or increasing the revenues in the various state partners. Okay, and looking at it and who these will affect, I think these will affect all players. We are looking at all import-dependent businesses, manufacturers and producers will also be affected by these changes. And all other export-oriented industries, the retail and consumer goods, logistics and transport, and including the service industries. And the overall impact of these will be varied across sectors, as Donald has shown, in terms of the sectors that are being affected by the stay applications that have been granted, and the remissions that have also been granted by the EAC. So on to it, I think looking at the changes that are applicable to all members, and this is effective 1st of July, in terms of July 2024. We are seeing the first one is a change in the description. We are seeing a change in the description, especially in relating to cans, ends, and ends for beverage and foods. So we are seeing, and this is under Chapter 73. So we are seeing a deletion of ands and ends, which then means that the current description will read cans for beverage and foods. That will be the description under Chapter 73. The other change is in regards to the amendment of the structure. One, we are seeing a collapse in tariffs, and this touches Chapter 19, where we are seeing it, them reverting to the World Customs Organization nomenclature in terms of aligning that. So this is just an alignment to that, which ideally will provide clarity. We are seeing mixes and doughs for preparation of bakers, which will now attract the duty rate of 25%. The other change that we are seeing also coming about relates to some additions and amendments to the current structure, mostly touching on Chapter 85. And what we are seeing here is including a second line, which is touching on media, and this is touching on media, both magnetic media and optical media. So we are seeing an introduction of media that has been recorded with a software will now attract a rate of 0, where any other media will now attract the rate of 25%. We're also seeing, also again on the structure, on the change in the structure, we're also seeing changes that are coming in Chapter 87, and this mostly is, touches on motor vehicles, trying to introduce a 0 rate to undisabled motor vehicles. And mostly what this might mean is that This will be trying to encourage a local assembly of motor vehicles here, and that's why we are seeing an introduction of that line in chapter 87. So we might see all the East African community countries trying to encourage local assembly of motor vehicles, and that's why it's now attracting a 0% in terms of duty. Then to the one that touches the topic of the day, mostly, and when we are looking at the divergence in application of the divergence in the application of the CET, mostly that covers the specific stay applications that each and every country has applied for, and this is what has been granted by the EAC. And for these stay applications, we are seeing, and as the analysis Donald has just disclosed, we are seeing most of the partner states like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Burundi, most of them are applying for higher rates in the bands of 25% to 35%. So those jurisdictions are looking at maybe having a higher rate for the period of 1 year going forward, with only Rwanda having most of them being applications to apply lower rates. So looking at some of the specifics one, and as he has mentioned, we've seen there are very many, running to around 1,900 of them. Kenya having around 816 in totality. So we'll just look at some of them per sector and see the trend, which is mostly looking to increase the rates. We are seeing like the petroleum industry, we are seeing crude palm oil also getting an increase from 0% to 10% for a period of 1 year, and applies to the RBD palm and other palm oil refined sunflower oil and such. So as you may see, I'll not delve so much into it because they are very specific ones, and this shall be shared maybe after the presentation. What you will realize is that most of these are increases and are affecting most of these industries. So you're seeing also in the food and agricultural sectors, we are seeing increases mostly at the rate of 35%, and also rice, which is under Chapter 10, we are seeing now a decrease of the same from the current 75%. On the transport industry, we are seeing Kenya proposing to increase the duty from 25% to 35% on all motor vehicles. We are going to see in other jurisdictions, some of them in terms of trying to encourage local assembly of motor vehicles, we are seeing now a decrease in the same, which then clearly shows the disparity in terms of the application of the CET. One of the other sectors that has been mentioned that we've seen being touched a lot is also in the textile industry. We've seen most of these jurisdictions also applying stay orders on the same. And for the construction industry, we also see Uganda and Tanzania also touching on items such as tiles in terms of seeing an increased rate of duty. In the communication industry, on a Kenya perspective, we are seeing an increase in the rate, especially for mobile phones, and increasing that from 0 to 25, and television sets increasing to 25 to 35%. I know when we get to Tanzania, you'll see now for the unassembled televisions, we'll be seeing a decrease in the rates in that. On to Uganda. Under food and agriculture, we are seeing starches also increasing. So as you may note, we are seeing duties increasing. Also, like we have mentioned in Kenya, television sets also increasing from 25 to 35%. We are seeing Uganda increasing it to 36%. Onto the manufacturing sector, we are seeing white refined sugar also being granted a remission of duty at the rate of 25. So we are seeing that the current rate now that will be going up because the current rate is around 10%. Just like I had mentioned in the construction industry, just like Kenya, we're also seeing the same being affected on tiles. Under the health sector, and these will also touch in Tanzania, and I think in Rwanda, we are seeing the postpartum mesh pants. Used for medical purposes, we are seeing a decrease in the rates from the current 25% to a 0%. And to the other sectors, and as Donald has mentioned, mostly affected is iron and steel, which we are seeing being touched in almost all jurisdictions. On to Tanzania, we are seeing, as opposed to Kenya, where we've seen rate increases in all motor vehicles. We are seeing buses for transportation of more than 25 persons decreasing. So these, and we will be looking to see what maybe are the justifications of each and every member state in terms of these states applications that we are seeing, and we can clearly see the differences in terms of the applications. Under food and agriculture, we're also seeing refined edible oils increasing the rate to 35%. And we're also seeing duty remissions coming in for raw materials, especially for the manufacture of fertilizers and other raw materials for other food industries, also getting a total remission on that. On to communication, we are seeing, as I had mentioned, the unassembled television sets for Tanzania decreasing to a rate of 0. So maybe the objective here is to encourage assembly of these items within Tanzania. Also, again, touched in all other jurisdictions as we have seen is the textile industry, but we are seeing items such as the gray fabric are increasing the rates, but the vitenges are coming down from the 50% to 35% band. And onto the manufacturing, we are seeing imported equipment for the manufacture of footwear now getting a decrease in terms of the rate. And this includes the raw materials, which would mean that then Tanzania might be looking to grow that sector in terms of the manufacture of footwear. Onto the construction, just like in the other two we've looked, that is Kenya and Uganda, we are seeing tiles also getting an increase in the rates. Rwanda in totality had around 116 changes, but most of them were duty decreases, as we have seen under the presentation done by Donald. Around only 10 of them were getting increases. So you will find that in most of these sectors, we are seeing a decrease rate from the current CET to 2022. So you'll see items such as the packaging for processed coffee, packaging for tea, and the telecommunication equipment also getting a decrease, including the unassembled televisions, which would mean that the agenda might be a similar one like we have in Tanzania, and also including the raw materials for manufacture of footwear, also getting a total remission in terms of the next 1 year. Also, again, in the manufacturing sector, we are seeing inputs for assembly of mobile phones also getting a total remission, which would mean that Rwanda might be encouraging or looking to see if this can be done locally. And that's why we are seeing remissions coming for raw materials on these tiles. Just like any the others that we have seen, we are seeing a proposal or an increase in the duty rate to the 35%. And on health, we are seeing the postpartum mesh pants also having a decrease like we've seen in Tanzania and Uganda. For Burundi, we're also seeing, again, touching on similar industries. We're seeing the textile industries and the transport sector. We are seeing also, just like Tanzania, buses for transportation of more than 25 persons also getting a decreased rate. And we're also seeing road tractors and such, and motor vehicles also seeing a decreased rate, as opposed to what we had seen in Kenya. All motor vehicles, the rates will be going up. Again, on the manufacturing sector, sugar for industrial use will also see a decrease in the rate to 0%. Construction sector, again, touching on the same, we are also seeing items to do with iron and steel. And the tiles are also getting an increased rate to 35%, as we have seen in other jurisdictions. So what are the challenges that relate to this divergence in terms of the use or the application of the East African Common External Tariff? I think one of the challenges that we'll be seeing is market distortion, because in terms of this, you're looking at if the common external tariffs are not applied uniformly across the partner states, then there will be an unleveled playing field in terms of some of the raw materials will be attracting duties at higher rates than in some of the partner states as opposed to others. So there will be an unleveled playing field. And also this will also affect some of the final products, especially that we are looking at most changes coming or affecting products that attract duties at 25% and 35% going up, which these are mostly the finished goods. Then again, these disparities will also affect the accessibility of markets, especially for manufacturers and traders, as they might be competing against others who are accessing raw materials and finished products at lower rates. Then the other one and the other challenge will be the lack of objectivity. And when we are looking at a lack of common objectivity, the reason these are common external tariffs is because they should be applied uniformly for the partner states, and that's why they are common external tariffs. For example, you're looking at rates of in the sensitive list, which maybe go from 50% to 100% in terms of duty. These were agreed by the EAC partner states because of several reasons. Some of these reasons might be unfair competition from the subsidized and counterfeit import goods. Also imported second-hand goods that impact negatively on domestic production, and also protecting the agricultural production and value addition, where we have comparative advantage, and also poverty alienation. If you look at those were some of the reasons and why this list was agreed. So if we are also going back to 6-day applications, then we lose that common objective. Again, just like Donald has mentioned, in terms of even looking at the fourth band, which was introduced by the CET 2022, and this is the 35% band. This was introduced to safeguard government revenue, sustaining sectors with minimum importation, also stakeholder contribution in the CET processes, and national and regional policies and industrialization. We're also seeing that being affected also by this frequent use of stay of applications on this third band. So what to note here is that then lack of this uniform application on the CET then thus loses the intended objective of why this was introduced. The other one is uncertainty, because we are seeing this being these stays and specific partner state remissions being applied for a period of 1 year. Then we're also seeing every year this gazette and notices coming with various stay applications. So there is a lot of uncertainties that might also affect making of crucial business decisions. Maybe we can go into it and look at maybe what are the justifications that some of these partner states have in terms of why then apply different rates, in terms of why the divergence in the application of the common external tariff. And here we will be looking at mostly why the specific jurisdictions might and what they could be looking at. And you can see maybe Kenya we may be arguing on for flexibility in terms of applying CET, so that then to protect its industries or support sectors in the crucial economic development and job creation, which ideally then could include temporary exemption and lower tariffs on certain goods to promote, and others maybe increases, so that then they can promote local production. Uganda, again, looking at it could be looking at protecting its agricultural sector needs, and maybe seeking to protect farmers from competition posed by cheaper imports. Tanzania, on the other side, might be prioritizing on its general tariffs in terms of looking at duties and taxes would be obviously the significant source of income for the government, so that now you'll be seeing maybe more increases coming or stay of applications to increase some of these duties. Again, Rwanda is being known of its regional integration and trade facilitation, may be looking to adjust its CET to promote cross-border trade. And that's why you're seeing Rwanda, most of the changes that are coming in mostly are decreases in the rates as opposed to the other partner states that we are seeing. Most of the changes that have come in are increases in the rates. Again, Burundi, which relies mostly on the tariffs in terms of looking at raising revenue, would be looking at maybe funding public services through raising some of these duties. And that's why we are seeing applications coming in to raise duties on various items. We also have two other partner states. These are South Sudan, and which is a newcomer in the EAC. And now that the country might be undergoing post-conflict reconstruction, then mostly South Sudan's divergence in the application might focus on building foundation industries and infrastructure. Again, DRC, with its vast natural resources and population, may have may apply these independently, looking at their consideration in terms of influencing its CET application, which could involve tariffs aimed at managing cross-border trade dynamics to protect its local industries. Then, what is the framework that we have, and maybe what would be the way forward in terms of looking at having all partner states apply the CETs uniformly? We would be looking at, yes, there is an existing framework in terms of, we have the establishment of the Customs Union in January 2005, which came into operation in 2010. We also have Articles 75, 76, 83, and 104 of the Treaty of Establishment of the East African Community. We have the East African Community, the East African Monetary Union Protocol. We have the national treatment of the Protocol of the Establishment of the East African Community, and we also have the harmonization of tax policies and laws of the Common Market Protocol. So there is an existing framework in terms of should we have the political goodwill, or should the partner states have the political goodwill to achieve uniform application of the CET that could be relied on. So maybe what is the way forward? And over and above the recommendation that Donald went through, I think we would be looking at one, having political goodwill in terms of the application of the CET. And as I have mentioned, I think mostly there will be superiority battles between, or economic superiority battles between the East African partner states, and that's why maybe we are not seeing harmonization in this process. So some of the things that could be considered, one is the full implementation of the CET, which is already in place. Partner states then should exercise the political goodwill and also hasten the processes in terms of ratification of cooperation agreements within the partner states, within the EAC community. Then also partner states should hold pre-budget consultation focusing on common proposals, so that then we're not seeing the divergence, and also should focus on unifying also other import levies. Remember, it's not just the duties that affect trade. We also have other import levies that come in, such as the import declaration fees and the railway development levies. So if all those were looked at in common, then I think we would achieve this objective. I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. Maybe back to the presenter for questions and for the Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much, Josephat, for the good presentation, a very insightful presentation. Now we are now entering the next session, and the next session is a question and answer session. So I welcome all participants to raise their hand in order to be given the mic or the floor to ask the question. Or also you can post your question in the chat room that is there. So you may post the questions to the presenters, to the speakers who have shared their insights today with us. Welcome to all of you. Please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. To all participants, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. Yes, I see a question from Akinyi Gikonye. Akinyi Gikonye.
Okay, that's Akinyi Gikonyo. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking the presenters and EABC, because I think this is, for me, the first time to sit or to hear East Africa discussing the real issues. And each one of them has been brought out very, very, very clearly, very well articulated, very well identified, and we know our status or where we sit as East Africa. My question would be, what is it that needs to be done? Because when we talk about derogation might be a strong word, but when we talk about us not applying common tariffs because of the stays of application, because each country has got its own reasons and its own interest, then we probably should be bringing out what should be done. And from where I sit, if it is to be done, then it will not be left to the partner states, because those interests will not cease. What we probably need to be bringing out is that which needs to be done by the existing instrument or EAC institution that will bring us back to the desired position where we were saying a common external tariff is so that we are all applying the same rate of duty for the products coming from the third country. And we need to come to a point where it stops. Where we have common stay of application across the board, which is not applying the rate that is sitting in the CET, then we probably need to come back and say, look, this is not working for East Africa across the board. The stay of application is sitting at this level. Why don't we just change that tariff to that level? Where we have the Kenyas saying, because we are producing and we want higher rates, then we need to come down and say, East Africa, this is what we are saying here, and this is what is going to be done so that we achieve that desired position. Where we have, and mine is for, just for purposes of what I'm presenting, where we have those Kenyas, and when I say Kenya, it's not necessarily Kenya, my country, Kenya, a partner state in East Africa, or let me say, we're a partner state, then you find that majority or a partner state is coming down to let us have this rate, stay of application at 10% or 0% because this product is not available in East Africa. We need to be able to come up and say it is not available East Africa, and for that reason, this is what is going to be done. And even as we are talking rates, we sometimes want to get out of the rates and come back to ministries like the Ministry of Agriculture. We are talking about wheat. So we are applying this high rate on wheat. But what is the story of wheat in East Africa? So if we want to keep that high rate on wheat, then Ministry of Agriculture, what is it that we are doing towards achieving this desired position where then this particular tariff makes sense? I think what needs to happen is we need an authority or a force to drive East Africa to get us to where we need to be. Left to partner states, looking at what has happened since 2005, the interests are getting bigger and we may not achieve that desired position. And that's one of the things that I'm still looking out for. Where is that position where we are saying, East Africa, this is what is going to be done? Where is that recommendation where we are saying, Council of Ministers, this is what must be done if we are to achieve? But otherwise, I think today, Donald, good job, and everybody else who has put this together and made the presentation. I think it's excellent. The question is, where do we take it from here and how is it packaged so that we bring East Africa to this one country we are calling East Africa, this domestic market we are calling East Africa. As it is today, we don't have that domestic market of being driven by a common external tariff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akinyi. We'll respond to I'll request the speakers and the presenters to respond to your question. But before they do that, kindly allow me to also welcome Dr. Margaret Kemengich. I know she's an expert in this area. Dr. Margaret, please, you may ask your question or share your insight. After Dr. Margaret, I've seen Bruno. We'll also invite Bruno later after Dr. Margaret.
Thank you very much and for the good presentations. I find it very interesting. And what is coming through generally is that there is a move for value addition from especially where there are increases and what have you. So I would look at it positively. Then we also need to check where were we when we were adopting the 2022. You recall, they would have cases where 4 countries agree, 1 country dissents, and that is where now the 4 countries which agreed to take an action is where they are now moving, as opposed to staying stagnant, because we had to retain some on the 2010 status just for purposes of not reaching a convergence. So I think we need to look at it and really study it clearly. And as Donald had stated, let's now concentrate on the private sector so that the private sector give us an agenda of how we can drive the whole situation going forward. And if need be, should it become necessary so that an exception can be given, that way now, if it is only 1 country which is doing that particular activity, we see whether an exception should be given and what have you, but that really should be derived from having all the partner states and with a big voice from the private sector going forward. Because at times, if it is purely revenue or you think you are, you don't want to support this partner state and the other, I think it is really requires a lot of thinking. But otherwise, I believe since the bulk of them were for increasing and going into value addition, we need to look at it positively and we see what can be done going forward to harmonize those positions and make sure that we at least build the productive capacities within the region. It would be unfortunate if the bulk of them were going for reducing and for consumption, because they would not be building wealth in the region. So I think this one, the Secretariat and the Business Council now has to play a bigger role, get your private sector to make sure that really they harmonize their positions. And if 1 country can produce the bulk of it, there is no reason for a very small country destabilizing the CET. But otherwise, it requires really a strong sitting one cannot just take a decision in the boardroom without the key players, and governments now have to partner and hear what the key players are saying. So we have to make a choice between revenue and the productive capacities. Which one do we give in and which one do we sustain? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret. Now I would like to welcome Bruno. Bruno, kindly switch on your microphone. Then after Bruno, I'll welcome Jermaine.
Thank you. First of all, I want to extend my appreciation to the event organizers for this meeting. It is very insightful just to understand where we were and where we are now and where we want to be, considering the challenges that we are facing currently. So I have two questions. Number one is related to political interference to the tariffs. And that is, if a partner state requests to increase the tariffs, maybe the duty of a particular product, how do we find a balance between them trying to protect their local industry versus trying to increase this duty for other reasons or other political reasons? And then number two, this is regarding duty remission, let's say for similar products. So as private sectors, we may have done some requests for duty remission for some products, but they were not granted. Let's say for raw materials for assembly of electronic products in a partner state, that was not granted. But if you compare the same with other countries in the same, this other partner state country, they were granted. So I don't know what causes that difference in issuance of duty remission. Yeah, so those are my two major questions. Back to you.
Thank you, Bruno. Now I welcome Jermaine to ask the question before we request the presenters and speakers to respond. Jermaine, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the good presentation. My question is that why there is that difference in tariffs. Then trying to explain that this tariff has brought some many challenge to the private sector. I'm focusing just only for leather sector, whereby we realized since 2016, where this has been implemented for export of raw hides and skins. The agreement was that in ESC, the industry are going to be boosted from tannery up to manufacturers of the product. This has not implemented. Referring to the report of Director of Productive Industry and the ESC and the member state presentation, they shown that in ESC we don't have capable tanneries in the manufacturing industry in value chain. Then now the main issue that hides and skins which have been banned for export out of ESC are scattered in the whole region. So what do you plan for the next coming years so that those laws which have been made since 2016 today for not processing the full raw material and being dumped in the as waste, what do you plan to do so that the industry get growth, and the people as private, we resume our businesses with a profit ratio. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you, Jermaine, for the question. Now, maybe I'd like to welcome our acting director, Adrian Jau. You have the floor, Adrian.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me join the other speakers to congratulate actually the presenters for well insightful presentation and the articulation presentation. Mine actually, I would like to get the thought from Donald regarding the implementation of the duty remission scheme in EAC. I think one of the challenge has been where the duty remission committee at the national level, when they are looking the request for duty remission, mainly they concentrate at the respective national boundary or country in looking if the input is available in particular country. But you may find maybe the input which the private sector is asking for duty remission is available in another country. So how can we actually resolve this to ensure that those input which are available in the region should be seek to the region rather than concentrating on the country? That is my question in that particular area. Back to you, moderator.
Thank you very much, Adrian. So now I'd like to welcome our first presenter, Donald, to actually answer some of the questions raised. And there are questions to do with duty remission, as Adrian has inquired, and also Bruno. Also, there's a question about the leather sector in terms of the raw hides and skins. Maybe Donald, kindly if you can also answer that question to do, and also the first question by Akinyi on the authority to drive the East African agenda forward. So what can you do with all this tail of application that Akinyi actually raised? Donald?
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Yeah, to start with the one on duty remission. Duty remission, there are two categories: one, regional remission, and country-specific remission. So during the pre-budget consultation of the ministers responsible for finance, a partner state may submit a proposal requesting for duty remission, maybe on inputs to manufacture solar items. Now, during the discussion, other partner states may wish to join, and once they join, now it becomes a regional-wide remission. So what happens is that at times, a partner state may come with that proposal, then 3 partner states may opt to join, and then the 2 may opt out. So that will still be respective to 3 partner states and not a regional one. So I think when it comes to the procedure, it's upon partner states to have consensus, and in that way, it's going to reduce the country-specific remission. If you look in the current gazette, we had an item where the Republic of Kenya came. I think it was on inputs to manufacture insecticides. And through the discussion, all partner states agreed, and now it means a manufacturer within the community can enjoy remission at 0% import duty on inputs to manufacture insecticide. Then, on the same note as Adrian had put it, it's true. As the community, we need to promote manufacturers
before going to import at outside or from the third parties. And I'll give an example on sugar for industrial use. For the past 3 years, Republic of Uganda had submitted to the council that they have the capacity to manufacture sugar for industrial use. And because of that, Uganda Duty Remission Committee has not been submitting requests for duty remission on sugar for industrial use. But look at the Gazette. We have 10% import duty, and most of the manufacturers are importing outside EAC. So I think it needs to start with us, manufacturers, have faith, though there has been claims that when you place orders within the local manufacturers, they are not able to submit within time. There are also been claims that we are not sourcing from the local manufacturers because of standards. But the issue is we all have the Bureau of Standards. Now, when we start questioning standards of the local manufactured items, are we saying that our Bureau of Standards are not doing their work? So on that one, I think it goes back to East Africans on the preference of the materials. Now, going to what my sister Akinyi raised, indeed, we have products where they are sensitive, but as the community, we have never used that the sensitive rate. A good example being sugar for industrial use and wheat. And I think some of these products are beyond technocrats, because I'll give an example on wheat. Last year, experts did the analysis, and it was clearly shown that as the region, we don't have capacity on wheat, and most of the manufacturers rely on imported wheat grain as the raw material. And to that effect, the experts had recommended that wheat, the duty rate on wheat, be reduced. Whether we agreed at 10, which that's what partner states have been enjoying as the under duty remission, but that proposal was not adopted by policy organs. So I think some of these, I think they are political. And the feeling is if you are reducing the rate, let's say on wheat or sugar, what message are we sending to the investors who have already invested heavily on the two sectors? And I think that's why at times it becomes difficult for the community to agree to go to a lower rate, even though the data shows clearly that we have never been able to implement or apply the higher rate as provided by the common external tariff. Now, on the conditions of if you want to apply for a stay, which conditions should be met? And you'd recall that in one of the slides, I had indicated one of the objectives for undertaking review was to come up with the condition when a partner state is requesting for a stay. And we are happy to report to you that the council adopted that proposal. So we have a new section 140A in the Custom Management Act, and that is part of the bill, Custom Management Act bill, which is awaiting assent of the heads of states. So we have agreed that in order for a partner state to temporarily waive duty, you have to make that submission 3 months prior to consideration by the council, and you need to have evidence to support that the community does not have capacity to manufacture that item. And then that temporary waiver will only be valid for 1 year. So that is part of the amendment in the Custom Management Act. So we believe when the heads of state are sent to that bill,
and it becomes a law, then partner states should be able to abide to the condition contained under Section 140A of the Custom Management Act. On hides and skin, it's true that as the community, we have not done much, and I want to inform the meeting that the community has even introduced export levy on wet blue. There's a very high rate when one wants to export wet blue. But now the question is how uniform or how that measure is implemented by partner states. That's question number one. Because reports are showing that there are very few partner states who are imposing that export levy on wet blue. And indeed, as the community, if you want to do value addition on the leather and leather products so that we can also reach the levels of a country like Ethiopia, we need to have a commitment to that. And I think that should come up or should be done by partner states in collaboration with the Secretariat to ensure that we are setting up facilities to have value addition activities undertaken within the community. I wish to submit.
Thank you very much, Donald, for the clarification. Maybe now I'll also invite the second presenter, Josephat, if you have any responses to the question on what's next, on what should be done to ensure that to make the CET work.
I think, thank you, Monique, and I think well put, Donald. I think, and looking at striking the balance, I think also looking at the justification that each and every of the partner states would have for the deviations in its application of the CET, mostly you will see that is a reflection of the specific economic priorities and the development goals that those specific jurisdictions have. So striking a balance between these factors, also with the overarching objectives of regional integration and market harmonization, still remains the complex task for EAC members. I think that's where we would need to look at then, should we be aligning then the objectives first so that then we have a common goal, so that then even on the application, then it is uniform. I think that is the comment I would have. I think Donald has covered the rest in totality.
Thank you very much, Josephat. Now, I would like to ask, I can see Jermaine, you have raised your hand again. Jermaine, do you have any question?
Yes, I do. I really appreciated the presentation or the response from Mr. Donald Trump, Mr. Donald. But I still have one question more because I'm not satisfied with his answer. He mentioned that they are going to impose maybe tariffs on wet blue. If we impose the tariffs on wet blue, hence we don't have those infrastructure. How you are killing the industry totally. Me, I would like to suggest, while waiting for setting up those infrastructure, because I refer to the Paris regulation environment and climate protection, whereby we have to set up the industry which are not harmful to the environment. This will take a process. So as manufacturers of leather products or the people who are in leather business, they are crying, and I refer to the report. Evidence are available from the presentation of national focal points, whereby they highlighted this is a common issue in member states. So we want or we wish that the common external tariff to be reduced, to be take the leather sector as a particular sector which needs a huge investment fund to make sure that it complied to the environment. Therefore, for us, we suggest to remove that ban of 80% and to make freely their business while waiting for those infrastructure to be set up. Because at national, when you ask, I really appreciate Uganda has a tannery now. Tanzania has the one which comply with the environment. Kenya, they have several tanneries. But when you look at their installment capacity, they are not able to process all hides and skins. When you look at the manufacturers industry for making leather products, also they are not able to manufacture the required product in ESC, referring to the director report of ESC, productive industry. He highlighted that there is a need of 600,000 pairs of shoes per month. That is showing the gap of the region in terms of manufacturing and in terms of leather processing. Therefore, take this issue as a serious, because business people are dying, jobs have been stopped. There is a bigger serious problem. We would like at least you don't waive, just phase out, maybe put the tax at 10% while waiting for those infrastructure to be set up. I submit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jermaine. I think your message is loud and clear, and now I welcome Mr. Adrian Jau to actually speak about the role of EABC in addressing the issues raised and the question raised by participants, and also to give him the opportunity also, if our vice chairperson is still around, to also do some closing. So welcome, Adrian Jau.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. Once again, I thank the presenter, Donald, for giving us a clarification and actually the valuable information the private sector which they would like to get from the EAC Secretariat. But also thanks Josephat for the presentation and also clarification. But also would like to thank all the participants for the active participation. We have received a lot of recommendation, but also a different view on how to handle this particular issue of the common external tariff. Actually, I sympathy with Doctor on issue of leather sector. Actually, what she's saying, it look like the mechanism we are using, for example, of imposing export tax on leather, hide and skin, maybe is not giving us the desired objective. And what I can assure her, EABC, what is supposed now to do is to bring together the manufacturer or the stakeholder from the leather and leather product at the regional level to really look the critical issue affecting the leather and leather product in the region, how we can actually promote regional value, because the way she say, you find that there is some different development when you look the sector in the EAC. So through value chain promotion, we are looking fund, and I think through Africa Development Mark, we may get some fund where we will bring together the key regional value chain like textile and textile product, leather and leather products, and to look the issue which they are being affected, not only on the CT or tax, but also other issues which we think maybe they are inhibiting their progress and promoting regional value in the region. So my conclusion in this particular webinar is we have been challenged as a private sector. Let's make sure that this becomes the agenda of the private sector. Private sector need to come together and have harmonized position on how to move forward agenda which will address the issue, the challenge of partner state not uniformly apply the common external tariff, because we understand the CET is very important instrument for trade when we are trading with the rest of the world. But also it is very important in creating the market, the domestic market when you want to compare it with the rest of the world. I'm not sure if my vice chair is still in. Patrick?
Hi, Adrian.
Yes, so I invite the vice chair to come and make a closing remarks. Karibu, chair.
Asante sana, and asante sana to you for the remarks you've just made now, because you've summarized very well part of what I'm going to suggest, but mostly to all the participants here and the presenters this morning. I believe you've actually met the challenge and done good justice to this topic, but the work is not yet done. And as Jermaine has highlighted very clearly, there are even more specifics for us to look into and to advise partner states, and of course the EAC Secretariat as the central coordinator of all these issues. And I believe one of the things that Jermaine's specific case has highlighted is the need for not only private to public sector engagement, which we've done for the last 25 years, but also private sector to private sector, because there are many opportunities that the private sector needs to address themselves to by thinking regionally as a first step, like leather industry, and then opportunities that the private sector, again thinking regionally, can then escalate together to the EAC Secretariat and through the partner states. And that is why the EABC exists. So as Adrian has rightly said, please, let's spend a lot of time engaging, reach out. This EABC is here for you, the private sector, whether you're a member or not. Please always use this platform that's been created and is existing for you in Arusha to get these issues sorted out. And the sooner we do so, the better.